Dire Maul tribute. Oh, yeah. Yeah, it was
To
just
preface this video, I should say that I'm personally a big fan of Saurfang.
Okay.
He's one of the few Horde leaders in game that both Alliance and Horde members like, both in lore and with the general WoW player base.
Okay.
But therein lies his problem to an extent. Saurfang believes in his orcish honor and will never do anything to forsake it. Which,
Yeah.
sure, that's a great character trait for him to have. But
Okay.
because of this character trait of his, Blizzard is kind of forcing this ideal that anything he does is right, even though his idea of honor is vapid at best. Now, before I get into the point with Saurfang, let me take a moment to talk a little bit about Sylvanas, and how she relates directly to Saurfang's story. Many people disagree with her actions for obvious reasons. She's a no-nonsense Forsaken willing to do dirty things to win.
Yep.
And when she does, she's probably one of the most successful leaders when it comes to battles
She's so
won
hot, dude.
or victories denied, and has a history of doing anything possible, even underhanded methods, to win. A little backstory for Sylvanas' military victories and accomplishments. When Arthas attacked with his unstoppable undead
She got her
army,
ass
she was
beat.
so good at pushing him back that when Arthas finally did break through their defenses, because one of their elves betrayed
There
them,
he is, dude.
he went out of his way to raise Sylvanas as one of his personal
Yep.
servants. When she broke free of Arthas' control, she nearly succeeded in killing him, and only failed because she tried to kill him slowly, and wanted him to
Okay.
suffer, which gave Kel'Thuzad enough time to save him. After being stuck in the middle of enemy territory with only a handful of undead under her control, she used her banshees to possess the bodies of strong monsters in the
Where's
forest
Saurfang?
to stage a surprise attack on Varimothras and his men,
Fuck
quickly
that guy.
defeating him and getting the Dreadlord on her side.
Okay.
She then staged another surprise attack on a second Dreadlord in the area, where she used her banshees to mind control his men and successfully assassinated him,
vicious.
freeing the humans under his control, and then forging an alliance with those human soldiers. Then she used her new human soldiers as kind of a meat shield to successfully siege Lordaeron and defeat the third Dreadlord. When Garrosh orders her to take Gilneas, she successfully captures the city despite them receiving aid at the last second. She staged a successful surprise attack on Tedrassil and took it out, where Garrosh failed in Ashenvale before ever getting close.
Oh,
She
yeah, he
successfully
did.
defended Lordaeron when the Alliance attacked, and the only reason they broke through was because Jaina came in and saved them at the last second.
Okay, dude. She blew the fucking city up. Like, what are we talking about? What are we talking about? How she defended it? Like that she blew the whole fucking thing up. Yeah, right, dude. Yeah, fucking right.
Afterwards, she successfully trapped all of the major Alliance leaders in a room and would have killed them if, again, it wasn't for Jaina teleporting them out of there and then saving them at the last second. She may have done a lot of morally questionable things to achieve her victories, but her results are there to see. There's a reason she's a fan-favorite character. She's interesting, gets results,
she's hot.
and is proactive in her story rather than
And is hot.
reactive.
That's the main
That's why a
reason.
compelling villain is interesting to watch.
Yep.
A villain, by their very nature, is trying to bring change to the world and requires a very proactive effort in order to bring about that change, which opens up a lot of character moments as they go out into the world and try to get things done. Whereas a hero can only ever react to bad things happening and is more limited in scope. Not to say Sylvanas is entirely a villain though, she's pretty
That's
justified in
interesting.
her distrust of the Alliance, a point even Saurfang had to agree with her on. The Alliance has proved on multiple occasions that they act with aggression without provocation. They're not the beacons of peace and tranquility Alliance players like to
That's
make them
not
out
true.
to be. Both the times the Blood Elves
No,
tried
it's
to
not
rejoin
true.
the Alliance, they were betrayed or pushed aside.
Yeah,
Like-
because they fucked us up first. Like, what do you mean? Like, yeah, obviously Jaina was pissed off about the Blood Elves being in Dalaran because they just bombed her fucking city. What a bunch of bullshit, dude.
The goblins were gunned down and left stranded on an island while trying to flee their homeland that was destroyed during the Cataclysm. The Alliance
fuck
attacked
them.
a Tauren town full of innocent civilians merely to get a foothold in Horde territory.
Yeah, of course.
Gen Greymane defied orders and started a war with the Forsaken in Stormheim by attacking them. And of course, after first
Because
becoming
she-
a Forsaken, Sylvanas, along with her people, were hunted down and killed by the Alliance.
Duh, because they're
All this to
fucking
say,
disgusting.
Sylvanas is entirely justified in her war against the Alliance.
No, dude.
There are countries and
No,
cultures in
dude.
the real world that still hold grudges over things that happened to them hundreds or sometimes thousands of years ago by a group of people.
Yeah, I wonder
And the
which
bad
countries
things the
those
Alliance
are.
have done to the Forsaken aren't even that long ago. And one of the go-to arguments I hear against Sylvanas is that the Alliance is willing to make peace now. So she's just being a warmonger for the sake of it. which brings up the old case of intentions versus actions. People judge themselves based on their intentions, and others based on their actions.
Okay.
We all know that Anduin's intentions about making peace with the Horde were real, but the past actions of the Alliance tell a different tale. Sylvanas isn't judging Anduin and the Alliance based on their intentions, she's doing it based on their past actions. She's entirely justified in her reasoning, a fact that even Saurfang agreed with. So,
When?
how does this all relate to Saurfang? Well, Saurfang went along with Sylvanas' plan until she decided to burn the tree. He was fine with killing Malfurion to destroy the hope of the Night Elves, and in fact, he's the one who came up with the plan to use a whole bunch of rogues to assassinate all of the Sentinels in Ashenvale.
Smart.
Within a day, Saurfang began to reveal the true plan, but only to those who would execute the first strike. It took a long time to brief large numbers of rogues in any plan. These were not individuals who liked crowds or lectures, so he had to do it 2 at a time. And he planned most of the invasion that led up to Teldrassil, but then pulled out at the last second because he did a dishonorable blow. This was a dishonorable blow? Now, this is where his sense of honor starts to be a little shaky.
I don't think that's true because, like, the dude's on the other side. Like, just because he, like, fuck that, dude. I mean, this is a war. Like, man, if you're going to have a bomb and you're blowing shit up all the time, but you're worried about stabbing somebody in the back, they just stabbed you from the front. What's the fucking difference?
Remember that Saurfang is the one who came up with the plan to hire rogues to attack the Night Elves' towns before they had a chance to defend themselves or retaliate. None of those attacks really involved facing the opponent in open battle, since 99% of those were surprise attacks. Saurfang attacking Malfurion in the middle of battle while facing off against his commander, well, there's nothing dishonorable about that. Even when Tyrande came to save Malfurion, she asked why Saurfang spared his life, to which he replied that he struck without honor and didn't deserve to kill him. Tyrande then chastised Saurfang about this, and told him he was stupid, but thankful for not killing her husband. And since one of the big reasons they were even invading Teldrassil was to kill Malfurion, Sylvanas ordered the burning of the tree, something she wouldn't have done if Malfurion had died. And it's not like the Alliance are shy about invading a city to kill a major leader either. Just look at Dazara lore. To quote the passage by Sylvanas in the short story of Good War, this battle was not about a piece of land. Even Saurfang knew that. Taking the World Tree was a way to inflict a wound that could never heal.
Yeah, we didn't like him.
Losing their homes and their leaders would have ended the Kaldorei as a nation, if not a people. Even the loss of one leader would have been enough to create a tide of despair. The wounds of this battle would have bled, festered, decayed, and rotted the Alliance from the inside out. Anduin Wrynn would have lashed out in a final, desperate war, looking for a miracle because only a miracle would have saved them. But a miracle already had. A miracle granted by the honorable hand of a foolish old orc, and an overconfident war chief, best to lay blame where it belonged. This was her mistake as much as Saurfang's. This conquest of Darnassus would have rattled the Kaldorei people. They would have grieved for their lost, feared for their imprisoned, and trembled at the thought of the Horde ransacking their homes. But they would not fall to despair. Not anymore. Malfurion's impossible survival would give them hope. Their wound would heal. What Saurfang did here kind of made no sense. And that's because Orcish honor doesn't really make any sense. So let's talk about Orcish honor. What even is it? Orcish honor could be best described by their war cry, Loktar Ogar, which roughly translates to victory or death. The main mantra of the Horde is blood and honor, with honor being the thing they hold above everything else. To honor one's clan, to honor yourself, 2 things drilled into every orc since birth. And since honor places such a large role in Orcish society, it's kind of a surprise that there is no consistent definition of it amongst orcs' clans. What honor is to an orc changes depending on what clan you're in, or at what point you existed in the Horde, as ever since the Horde changed hands from different clans, they also changed the definition of what honor meant.
Yeah, because
to the Frostwolf clan, honor is pretty consistent with some real-world definitions of honor, where they would respect their elders and fellow clan members, and treat other people with decency in the same way that they would want to be treated.
How boring!
And to also protect their clan while not forsaking their code of conduct, which is generally to be decent people. The Warsong clan has a more Spartan definition of honor, where strength
That's
is
Grom,
king,
dude.
and whatever is honorable is
Holy
decided
shit.
by whoever
I don't
is
know
the
if that actually is
strongest.
Grom or not, but
The
he's
weakest
badass.
of one contaminates the strength of the all in their eyes. And to this end, they exile people that forsake their honor, and drown their infants who aren't born strong enough.
Hey.
The Blackrock clan,
That's the way
the
it
one
goes.
Saurfang's from, has a code of honor very similar to the Warsong clan, except they also valued blacksmithing and mining in addition to military strength.
That's
the
the black
Blackrock
part.
clan was the most prominent clan in the original wars on Azeroth, as both the first and second war chiefs of the Horde were Blackrock orc members, and they were the first clan to learn how to use spell magic by the Legion. So for most of the orcish clans, besides the Frostwolf clan, honor to them was basically blood and glory. To win was
Okay.
honorable, and to lose was dishonorable. That is to say, there is no real definition of what it is. Honor basically is just whatever each orc thinks it is. When Thrall reformed the Horde, his definition of honor was pretty in line with the Frostwolf clan, except he extended his value of honor to
I
include
hate
all
Thrall,
races
dude.
and not just orcs. It was
Like-
basically his only difference.
So stupid.
So exactly which of these codes of honor does Saurfang subscribe to? Luckily, we don't need to guess, as thanks to Saurfang's extensive involvement in WoW lore throughout the years, we have a quote from him directly. An orc, a true orc warrior, wishes for one thing: to die in the glory of battle against a hated enemy. His other quotes basically just talk about how you should never forsake your
Oh
honor.
wow, that's him.
But
at
the quote I just
oh.
read is a pretty good summation of what
the opening of
ideals
the Gates of
Saurfang
AQ.
has. His idea of honor
Holy
is a
shit.
more battle-oriented one that wishes for death on the battlefield, something that Saurfang thinks a lot about in the Good War short story. He's been through so many wars and has always come out alive, where many other people have died.
Okay.
And he's kind of envious that they got to die in battle. As a young orc, he had expected a quick, honorable death in battle. These days, he wondered if he was cursed to outlive everyone.
That is kind of weird.
Saurfang is obsessed with his honorable death, and before the battle for Lordaeron begins, he decides to basically commit suicide by walking into the Alliance army by himself.
But they
because
stop
in
him,
his
yeah.
mind, it would be an honorable death, as he would technically die on the battlefield. To which point,
True.
good old Zappy Boy comes in and basically talks some sense into him. That, no, dying pointlessly
Yeah, I
isn't
thought that
honorable,
was-
it's
that-
just
that would've been
selfish,
so dumb
and
if
you
that
need to
happened.
do something to earn an honorable death. So later on, Saurfang compromises, and decides to get his honorable death by buying time for the Horde to retreat, and
Which is-
faces the
well,
Alliance
that's
army on his
honorable.
own. Sylvanas tells him this is stupid, but lets him do it anyway because she is very aware of his suicidal tendencies and even mocks him for it. But it doesn't stop there. Saurfang's sense of honor does extend to other things besides dying in battle. He also decides that something is honorable randomly when he feels like it. Take this quote from A Good War. He stood and brushed the dirt off his armor, shrugging away his aches and pains. Malfurion would recover, and when he returned to battle, he would make the Horde pay in blood. Saurfang was certain of it. Still, a great burden had been lifted from his soul. It felt right that Malfurion had survived. It felt honorable. Since Saurfang's sense of honor is arbitrary, and something he makes up on the spot, that means Saurfang basically just does whatever he wants, and whatever he wants to do is honorable. Whatever he doesn't like is dishonorable.
Yeah, I don't know, dude.
Which means his sense of honor literally means nothing. It's just using the word honor to justify his feelings. You know who else had a huge sense of orcish honor? Let me show you this little scene from the Siege of Orgrimmar.
Do you remember nothing of honor, of glory on a battlefield?
Well, Garrosh was awesome.
Parley with the humans.
Well, Garrosh
who
was
allowed
awesome.
warlocks to practice their
Fuck yeah,
dark
dude.
magics right
Fuck
under
yeah.
our feet.
Garrosh was amazing.
You are weak. We are the Orcish Horde.
That's right.
The true Horde.
That's right.
We die, bloody and thrashing on the field of battle, like true
Yes.
orcs should. You are an orc no longer.
Big true.
And
Fuck
speak
Thrall.
for none but yourself. You betrayed our people to forge your fragile alliances, and I will take great pleasure in
See, Garrosh was a
tearing them
badass.
apart.
Like, he should have been the real
Garrosh
Lord.
did everything under his own assumption of what orcish honor meant.
And he was
In
right.
his mind, everything he did was honorable.
That's
and
right.
he had every right to try to take over the world and force orc supremacy.
You're goddamn
because
right.
it was the honorable thing to do by his
Of
standards.
course.
Garrosh even chastised Thrall for not having enough honor. What Garrosh is acting on and assessing as being honorable is almost no different from what Saurfang does. They both arbitrarily decide what honor means to them. and then push this belief on everyone else. If Saurfang is considered honorable, then so is Garrosh. And if Garrosh is considered honorable, then honor means nothing.
What?
Or does it? You might be thinking I'm just harping on the technical definition of the word honor.
No, dude.
And there is a point for that. What honor really means to an orc is their personal ideology. An ideology is a collection of beliefs and values that a person holds purely for reasons that make sense to them. Garrosh's ideology was orc supremacy and to crush his enemies beneath his feet.
Yeah, orc
So he attributed this to his orcish honor, and anyone who didn't agree with his ideology didn't have honor. Saurfang's ideology is to die in battle against a hated enemy. So anyone who doesn't subscribe to these ideologies doesn't have honor. Except Saurfang will randomly add stuff to a sense of honor, or not randomly. Generally, if something is morally on the good side, that can be attributed to his honor. But it's not so cut and dry. It's more complicated than that, and I think that's kind of what makes Saurfang an interesting character. He's not simple. He is not fully morally good. He has flaws and makes mistakes, which makes for interesting character stories. Nobody likes a character who's a goody two-shoes and perfect in every way and never does anything wrong.
Picture of Anduin.
And that's definitely not Saurfang. But I see a lot of people who are on Saurfang's side against Sylvanas' horde that champion his sense of honor as if it means something, and like to say things like, Saurfang will bring honor back to the horde, which to me is such a nonsense statement. But I do understand what they're getting at. They mean it in a way that they agree with Saurfang's ideology over Sylvanas's. So let's go over Sylvanas and Saurfang's ideology when it comes to the Horde. For one, they both care about the Horde, if for different reasons. They both agree that the Alliance are not perfect beacon.
Sylvanas only cares about herself. Like, she's like one of those Instagram girls that goes around and really like won't even talk to somebody if they don't have a certain amount of follower count. Like, she's a stuck-up bitch. She only cares about herself and not dying. That's the only thing that matters. That's the only thing. She didn't even really care about the Forsaken. Like, she does kind of, but just as a vehicle to make sure that she doesn't get killed.
It's a peace. They both agree on waging war against Teldrassil. Now, the point in which they disagree is how far they're willing to go for these ends. Saurfang was fine with marching through Ashenvale and Darkshore and killing all of the enemy soldiers in his path, and was even thought of the idea of using rogues to kill a large portion of those soldiers before the war even officially started.
Well, yeah.
Saurfang was fine with fighting the Alliance's army in defense of Lordaeron, but wasn't okay with Sylvanas' plague.
Right.
And that's where Sylvanas and Saurfang have this little exchange.
I had to see it for myself. Was this your plan all along? Is this how you meant to achieve victory? This honorless travesty?
True.
Honor means nothing to a corpse, Saurfang. You have the luxury of underestimating death. But it is something with which I am intimately familiar.
Well, maybe you wouldn't be if you didn't go and burn down all their shit. You know what I mean? Like, she's acting like people, they're just coming out of nowhere. And why did they attack Lordaeron? It's because she burned down the fucking tree. If she didn't burn down the tree, it would have been fine. Everybody'd been happy.
Maybe you don't care if your people die so long as it's honorable, but to me, this horde is worth saving. Anyone who disagrees does not deserve to stand among us.
By Saurfang's ideology, he would rather let the horde die if it meant being honorable, and Sylvanas is willing to do anything to win. And this is the crux of their differences. They both agree on the same goals, but disagree with the methods used to accomplish those goals. And Sylvanas did try to do things Saurfang's way, but he ruined things for himself. If you want your enemies to bleed to death, you inflict a wound that cannot heal. That is why I need you to make the plan. High Overlord, Sylvanas said. The moment our strike begins, there will be no turning back. We can divide the Alliance only if the war to conquer Darnassus does not unite them against us. That only happens if the Horde wins an honorable victory. And I am not blind. The Horde does not trust me to wage war that way. When Saurfang failed Sylvanas by sparing Malfurion because of his vapid sense of honor, she had no choice but to take things into her own hands, which did not sit well with Saurfang at all. If Saurfang just stuck to his plan, Sylvanas never would have burned the tree down. And Saurfang knows this, and that's why he tried to kill himself. Saurfang isn't honorable, he's selfish. He does things to feel good about himself, and to have a chance at dying in battle. And I think it's these character traits that make him an interesting character.
Nope.
And a good foil to Sylvanas' no-nonsense attitude.
Nope.
And considering Blizzard's 2 full cinematics centered around Saurfang, it's a pretty good indication of which side of this ideological battle will win out in the end. But also with the way Blizzard is allowing Horde players to make a choice to side with Sylvanas or Saurfang, does kind of throw that prediction into the air a little bit. Saurfang is not honorable, and that's okay.
Nope. Nope, that's bullshit. 100% bullshit. Sorry to say, guys, but that's 100% bullshit. Saurfang is the most honorable orc. All right? Everybody knows that. And anybody disagrees with that, it's just fucking wrong. That's the truth. They're just fucking wrong. Check the video date. It says March 31st. What about that? Why is Mr. Destructoid banned? Because people kept spamming it whenever the audio was like messing up, and it was really annoying. That's why I banned it. I banned it earlier. Sylvanas should, yeah, I mean, like, well, yeah, that's a good question. Like, if that's, no, you think about this, dude. Just a second. So he's talking about that, like, why didn't Sylvanas kill him? Like, if this was such a big deal, why didn't Sylvanas just do it right there? Wait, was she even there? Yeah, I mean, no, we'll just ban that emote too. Like, I mean, like, we'll just keep banning him until there's no, like, we'll just ban the other one. It's fine. But, like, listen. Like, I don't know, man. I think it's kind of stupid. It definitely is.